Yeah, should I turn them on? Hello. Let's give another round of applause for those amazing, amazing films. So I'm Alicia Varani. I am part of the steering committee for the Call Festival. Thank you all for being here and bearing witness to these stories that don't frequently get told and don't frequently get told by the folks most impacted by this system. So those stories were just so powerful to watch. I'm going to make this brief. I'd like to invite up Betsy Butler, who is, oh, there she is. She's going to moderate our film Talkback.
Oh, I recognize you too. Okay. Hi, I'm Betsy.
Hi, I'm Emily.
Just wish that the kids could see them. I don't know if that's possible. I do bring programming into the juvenile halls as much as I can. I was there one time and they were doing STEM education. And I said, where's Hidden Figures? Where's Hidden Figures in all this? And so it took me a year to get 100 books into Central Juvenile Hall so they could learn about Hidden Figures and these tremendous women who were great engineers, right? So it's a little slow, but I think it's getting better. So with that, I just want to move to trauma because everyone shares trauma in these stories. And actually, I think a lot of us have had trauma. It affects us differently and how, oh, you're very sweet. I can get them in a minute. You're very kind. Thank you. But so trauma affects us differently. And I just want to talk to all of you quickly about if you had gotten into trouble or started experiencing problems now, or your mother's boyfriend was abusing you, would you feel like you had resources now? Would you have a different path? Have things changed enough, or are there places for you to go that you feel like you could get some help before you got into any serious trouble? Do you think that's changed? And no. Okay. So can I just go? Yeah. If you want to answer that question. That would be great.
Yeah. So, no. It hasn't changed. I mean, yeah, we are fortunate that we've had to really look at ourselves to get ourselves out of a situation, right? And to grow within our own self because we wanted better. We knew that there was something better out there for our lives. But I was in my mid-30s. I'm now 50. And I'm just getting to this point where I can really dig down deep and say, okay, something was really wrong. But we have a whole lot of babies out there that are suffering, that are being traumatized on a daily basis. And if they are not in the juvenile hall systems, or if they are not incarcerated in the big people prison, the adult prisons, then they're not going to get any help. And even then, they're not going to get the help. It's very limited. So I applaud everybody who's up here and who played a part in making a difference, not only for themselves, but hopefully for a lot of other folks. But we really need to get into those detention centers, those juvenile halls. We need to get into the schools before we even get there, right? Because we got so many babies in there that are going through so much and they don't have an outlet. Or they don't feel safe enough to say, I need some help.
Right. Anyone else want to answer that question at all or have any thoughts on that?
So I want to talk about even the child abuse that happens in juvenile hall with pepper spray, you know? And
it's been in the news lately, yes.
Oh, yeah, and I've been in every prep meeting about it. Because I was that kid. They got pepper sprayed out. And so it's all about changing the system that's been broken. And a lot of people keep saying it's been broken, but it's doing exactly what it was meant to do. So we need to change the whole system. And it's up to us, all of the new generation of people that are actually out here changing their life, and the new ones that are coming out of these colleges, out of all the schools, that are going to be part of voting and part of doing the new generation of new laws and everything that's going to come, because it's coming. And we're coming because we're part of the trauma, all the trauma that happened to us. We're no longer going to stay quiet. We're no longer going to say it's okay. We're no longer going to allow the juvenile system or the prison system to keep doing the corruption and the illegal stuff that happens, because we are here and we're going to talk about it now. I'm an ex-lifer myself, and being an ex-lifer, I feel like it's part of my job to come out here and inform the community of what's going on. And I'm a citizen of Long Beach. I work in LA, or LA County in California. It's all my community, because everybody puts all these laws into action. So it's a great man once told me this: prayer is great, but prayer is a lot better with action. Because if not, it's just you in the dark whispering to God. So, and I believe in prayer, so I say that, like, prayer with action is what works. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, and you're close to Father Boyle, so you do, I would imagine, are close to God too then. Yes.
You know, I would like to thank UCLA and the wonderful staff and students in the School of Law and Art who put this thing together to give this opportunity and this voice for so many different people. So I see a bunch of you out here. Thank you, because you guys did a lot of hard work.
Yes. Great. So I do want to talk about the change that's coming, and you touched on it, but I'll expand a little bit with regard to politics and the importance of who's representing you and what's happening. And so we saw the numbers in your film about governors, how are different governors. And at one time you mentioned that they're afraid. They were afraid. Jerry Brown dug deep down inside and was able to change. I think a lot of that had to do with the famous Scott Budnick. Most of you who know him know that that is the case. And so actually we met last night Ken Hartman, who was also an LWAP, where is he? There he is. So he was one of the 2007, right? You must have been. The Jerry, right? Yeah. Yes, so it does happen. We are making change. I have to say, it's been slow as a probation commissioner. It's been really tough sometimes, because I've been on it now for 4 years, and we try to make these changes, and the changes aren't coming, but fast enough. But they are happening. We are moving to a rehabilitative system, not a punitive one. And if you only want to look at it from pure economics, it's just a much better investment to really make people better while they're in, so that when they come out, they're doing good with the community, because they are part of the community. So I don't know that we'll ever get to a European standard. For those of you who know, the most you can ever be incarcerated is 21 years, and it's literally the warden's responsibility to make sure you never reoffend. And if you reoffend, it's the warden who looks poorly upon, not the person who's incarcerated. But they have a whole completely different system than we do here. And I don't know that this country will ever get there, but it's something to strive for. So in just doing your movies, first of all, it's lightened up a little bit because they let you film inside, right? So that was pretty cool. You had a good warden who let you do that. I know a couple other, anyone know Chris Bisbano by chance? Who's out. He was in for 23 years, and he was able to do his own staging and whatnot inside Chino. But so go ahead and tell us. Obviously, you know people.
It's funny you said good warden. I think that's an oxymoron. Oh, okay. But did the warden allow it? I don't know. I think that I give credit to Lieutenant Robinson that was in there. But I really give credit to. So San Quentin is very unique, where there's tons of volunteers that come in there. And the volunteers located in Marin, the geographic location of San Quentin, I think helps. So it's annually around 3,000 volunteers come into that prison. Community-based organizations come into the prison, and that's where we met Alex, Sarah, Rebecca, who used to come in, not just volunteer, but their organizations were invested in service of us, not coming in and telling us what they want us to do, but like, what do you need from us? Right. And there was a media center down there. Some of you guys may have heard of Ear Hustle. So when Erline, myself, Phil was there in the beginning, when we all went down to the media center, there really wasn't anything there. And then the volunteers came in, and we had an idea, and then we pushed it to the administration, and they wanted to help us do that. So it's hard for me to give credit to the warden. Yes, he said the yes on it. I don't think he's ever seen any of these videos. But I also want to say about the rehabilitative culture, sure, it's shifting, but there's still a huge presence of abuse and control that like lingers in those prisons. So I could be, like you said, you said no. The answer is no. I feel the same way, that I could go into a group and I'm supposed to talk about my innermost shames and pains and traumas and crime, which is not easy to talk about. And then I step out into this abusive culture, tell me to get on the wall, strip down, like completely, whenever they want to. Don't go here, don't go there, shut up, get up, sit down. You know, so that's, how can you rehabilitate somebody like that? Briefly, an example I like to use, and I don't want to offend any people who are in the military, but sometimes this is how I think, like if somebody was struggling from PTSD that came back from war, and you put them in a self-help group, and as soon as you took them out, you put them right back into the battlefield. Like, how do you expect that person to rehabilitate? And so it's the same way that the prisons are now. I just left San Quentin 3 months ago after doing 16 years, and so like that's still fresh on my mind. Right. So it's short shifting, but it's very slow.
Well, that's interesting that you talk about trauma, because any type of trauma that you've experienced in your life and then you don't correct that trauma and you have more trauma on top of trauma, it just, so the probation department is learning that now. They're literally doing trainings on it. It is, I just feel like it's a really slow process in them understanding it, but they are talking the talk now and understanding what trauma is. So that in itself is a change. It's not happening fast enough, and it's not enough, but it is moving along. But Tiffany, did your trauma, not only coming into adulthood, if you will, but then also inside, you'd mentioned the guards had been hard on you. So the trauma just builds on the trauma again. And are you doing any work inside? Are you helping any other women? Are you going in?
Right now, no, I'm not going in. I need to get in there, though. So it's not just me that was abused behind the walls, right? Daily, today. So one of the things that I did up until recently is worked with women who are coming out of the system. Most of them are my friends. And they're telling me about what is going on now. This is the worst time ever to be incarcerated in a women's prison, and in prison in general. You know, these women are getting gang raped by officers. They're getting beat up, locked down for 23 hours a day, if not longer. They're getting locked down for months on end. They're getting strip searched. They're getting all kinds of things that happen. So the change is not coming. It is not there whatsoever. It might be there on word, on paper, but it has not trickled down into the institutions where it's needed. The trauma, yes, they have these self-help groups up in there, but to be honest with you, they're bogus. Because we're sitting in front, especially for lifers, right? For a lifer, everything you say to somebody is being documented. And that documentation is going to the board with you. So you got to be real careful on what you open up to, right? So we don't really trust those people. And they don't trust us. They look at us as animals. And so trauma, you cannot really dig deep inside yourself. Most of us try, we help each other, right? And we get the strength. Then we come out and finish the work within ourselves. But we're not doing it up in there.
Emily? Is Emily? I recall you, I believe it was you who was talking about when you first went into therapy and the therapist was writing stuff down, how traumatic that was. So I'm curious, what are you, I know you're getting your psychology degree, is that correct?
Well, I'm currently in college to become a certified drug counselor. I've been doing it for the last 6 years just by life experience. And then now as time's changing, you know, you need that paper, so I'm in school. But yeah, so for me, you know, I've been in prison myself. I was not a lifer, but I've been in prison 4 times, you know, lifer on the layaway plan. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yeah, you didn't speak about nothing, you know, everything was surfaced there. And when I got to Homeboy Industries, I was already 40 years old, you know, and the first time I actually got there, I walked in and I walked out because I walked in and I seen all these youngsters and everything was moving real fast, and they were talking about you had to get a job through this internet stuff, and I was used to like shaking someone's hand and, you know, conversing with somebody, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm screwed. And I walked out, I was scared, you know, and some more stuff had to happen to me. I relapsed. my father died in the men's federal prison. And the last time I had seen him, I was 15 years old. And I never really seen him before that neither, only a few times. So I had realized that I had became everything that I hated. You know, I became a dope fiend, in and out of prison, and abandoned all my kids just like my father. When I walked up to my father's casket, my dad gave me the best gift in his death. You know, in recovery they say sometimes someone has to die for someone to live. And when I went up there, I looked and I said, there go you if you keep going. You know, like he told me in his death, like, mijita, keep going and this will be you. And I just like, whoa, you know, and I went back to Homeboys and I just, you know, started trying, you know, and I was when someone just came up to me and said, how can I help you? And I literally broke down because I was carrying so much shit. So much shit. No one ever asked me that, you know? And so this person asked me, shit, I gave it all to him, you know? He probably said, oh, shit, but he took it. He took it, and you know what? And I didn't feel foreign. I didn't feel, and then it kind of gave me a glimpse, and I walked out there feeling hopeful. And then I started kind of, you know, coming around, and then I got part of the program, and then I started poking my noses into offices and taking chances, you know. But when my therapist did that, I remember, you know, because the way you grow up, you don't talk to nobody. You don't take medication because we got this. You ain't crazy. We ain't fucking white people. We ain't crazy. We don't take that, you know. You just shut up, suit up, you know, shut the fuck up. And so it was going against everything that I had believed all my life. And so when you ask someone to go against something that they believe all their life, it ain't that easy. Whether it's good or not. You could have gave me something that was totally healthy for me, but you're telling me something that I don't know or believe. I'm going to go against it. You know?
Right. I can, just really quickly, have you been on a hike?
No.
Okay.
Well, a few little ones, but I have like a torn knee right now. But
Okay. All
I
right.
do a lot of running around with her.
I bet. Okay, so we're going to take a couple of questions from the audience. Anyone? Quiet. Okay. Oh, yes?
There's one over here. Let's see.
Where? In the back. In the middle. Oh, sorry. Let's see if we can hear you.
I just want to know what kind of things were the most useful for anybody who would like to answer. What kind of things were the most useful for you to kind of either start feeling as though you were taking responsibility for your life, or I don't know. Was it practical? Was it emotional? Was it oral?
The thing that was most useful for me was I walked through the gates into an institution that was so unfamiliar to me, into a whole nother world that I had never even dreamed that I was going to be in. And I had to figure out, how the hell do I get out of here?
What was the most helpful thing to me was, you know, going into a different community that actually received me and made me feel part of something bigger than I ever had before. I had never had, you know, I had family, but it was very dysfunction, you know, and we have dysfunction at Homeboys. But, you know, and I've been to 4 rehabs, and I did NA and, you know, all that, but I could never keep it together. But I learned one thing, and that was my recovery and being accepted with unconditional love and told that I was so beautiful in God's eyes that God couldn't even look upon me. Changed my life. Changed my life. Because I hated myself all my life. And when Father Greg told me that I was perfect in God's image, I said, shit, who am I to doubt what this man is saying? So because he believed, I believed. And it's changed my life.
Either of you?
All right. inside prison, for me, was Sweat Lodge. I'm a Native American, so Sweat Lodge was one of the biggest things that helped me just keep myself centered, or just try to keep myself centered in the beginning, and then it gave me a whole different freedom before being free. That's for me. That's Sweat Lodge, and now the system is trying to do away with that and trying to make them into chaplains and all that. They're trying to destroy that. But for me, and I have to talk about that because that's one of the places that gave me freedom before I was free. As I was sitting there with life and got denied in the board for 15 years, and everything that happened right there. And coming out here was seeing the same guy that jumped me into my gang working at Homeboy Industries
In a tie.
and a tie and a suit and dropping his drawings. Are you here to kill me or are you here looking for a job? And me just telling him, dog, I don't know how to do this. I need help. I don't know what kind of help I need. I just know I need help. And I don't want to strap no more. I don't, there's no way in hell that I'm going to die in prison. And that guy right there gave me my chance out here. Being able to have a familiar face.
For me, what was most helpful was seeing survivors of crime come into the prison. I always talk about this. It was one of the biggest aha moments that I've had in a group. And for me, it was most impactful because for years I had not wanted to look at my crime, never wanted to take accountability, never wanted to look at the pain that I've caused in my community and to families and to my family. And seeing this woman come speak on her mother who was murdered and seeing the pain and the grief on her face, that was the first time that I ever really looked honestly at what I had done. And it had created a paradigm shift after that. I looked at myself as like the scum of the earth finally, and how do you get from being the scum of the earth to being someone that is productive in society? So it was a catalyst of sorts. It had to break me down to build me back up, and it definitely did, because from then on I looked at self-help groups as more. I saw the value in them. Previously, I had the same sentiments as Lumumba and all those guys as you've seen. That don't nobody talk about their emotions. Nobody's gonna cry. I'm not gonna no. But that particular moment broke me down, and from then on, it was just a catalyst to do better, strive for better things, and eventually, it led to me having, I guess, enough insight for me to be found suitable for parole. And it also still resonates with me to this day in the work that I do in providing any kind of support and help for survivors of crime. I was recently at the office of CDCR's Office of Victim Services event, and I was just talking about all the stuff that my organization your organization, our organization provides for survivors of crime and healing opportunities, and it was a beautiful opportunity for me, and that's one of the things that I think will stay with me forever and hopefully motivate the work for the rest of my life.
So you can talk about what you're doing now?
Yeah, can I add something briefly? Yeah, I agree with everything that was said around that question. One thing I would add is I think there's this assumption that where rehabilitation is to get rid of all the evil that's in people. To rehabilitate myself means that all the bad that I am, I need to get rid of that. That's not what rehabilitation is for me. I think for me is just reminding me who I've always been. If you ask me who I was like 20 minutes before I committed my crime, honestly, I was a kid with a sense of humor. I was 18 years old when I went in, so I was a kid with a sense of humor. Gave my best friend my last dollar to buy a burger, and I had to find him 7 cents because it's 99 cents plus tax. So did that, and just that's the type of kid that I was as a teenager. And so rehabilitating myself is finding myself in how it was found. It was honestly found through support, family. My sister's here, Sarah, she's here, my cousins, Shazed, Manur, Sarin, they're here, and it was them reminding me like just through conversation, not saying, hey, this is who you were, just laughing with me, joking with me, and talking with me, and having intellectual conversations with me. Like, oh yeah, that is who I am. That was what was rehabilitation for me.
Right. You made a mistake, and you needed to correct that, but you didn't need to spend your life the way you did. There's a lot of talk now about doing a lot more ankle bracelets and not having people incarcerated. It saves.
It's called incarceration.
Right. Well, it saves a heck of a lot of money. If that's what people want to look at, you don't like it so much, I'm taking it. But will you tell us what you're doing now? Well, I'd like to know what everyone's doing. I know Tiffany kind of talked about it a little bit. What group did you start, or what organization did you start? What do you?
So yeah, when I was good question.
And we'll get to a question in a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I was sitting in San Quentin. Alex Malik, who's been volunteering in San Quentin for over 8 years. I was there the last 4 years. We met. It was Phil and I and Alex who met. Sarah was coming in, who's sitting right next to her, filming this right now. And so we sat down. We started doing work around survivors of crime, like Phil was talking about. And what we were doing was bringing into San Quentin survivors of crime. Rebecca, who's sitting on the other side, came in with other mothers and people who have lost their loved ones to crime, and sitting with men who have committed such acts in a circle with district attorneys and legislators, and really just having this restorative dialogue. And so while we were doing that, we said, you know what, like we kind of want to. There was a lot of criminal justice organizations that were dealing with policy or dealing with formerly or currently incarcerated people, which is great and amazing. And I'm happy that that's happening. But one thing we wanted to do was create something systemic in terms of restorative justice. So a year and a half or so ago, we created this organization called Restore Justice. And under our organization, we have directly impacted leadership, directly impacted people, survivors of crime who are on staff, people who have committed violence, formerly incarcerated are on staff. And through that, also passed legislation together collectively. And one of the biggest legislation that passed recently was Senate Bill 1437, which modified the felony murder rule, which eventually got me out 2 months ago. 2.5 months ago, yeah. And so that's kind of how it started and where we're at now. And we have a lot more going on. Probably let Phil talk about that.
Yeah, we're doing a lot. You know, you talk about all these changes and they're not coming, or they're not coming fast enough. And it's true, but we are taking strides to do that. As he said, we passed SB 1437. We're looking at policy next legislative cycle to introduce a restorative justice pilot program, which would deter or take people who committed crimes and take the survivors of those crimes or the people who are the victims of those crimes, and give the offender an option to participate in a restorative justice program versus traditional punitive criminal justice procedures. Right. But it's all based on the choice of the survivor, on whether or not they choose to participate. And if they do, then all criminal proceedings stop right there, and the restorative justice process will commence. And at the completion of that, you know, once they figure out who's been harmed, what needs to be done, who's responsible, and what healing will look like, you know, some agreements will be set forth, and the responsible party will adhere to them, hopefully, and successfully complete the program and not have to go through criminal prosecution. And hopefully we pass that. I think it's SB 678. So talk to your legislators and tell them to support that. But yeah, we do everything from, like we said, survivors of crime, helping them. We provide programs for people in prison, and we do policy work, which is one of the things that I'm really proud of, because, you know, brings the folks home, because we have to bring everybody home as much as we can, because the system is broken, as we know, or actually it's functioning on a high level, as we know. And so there's a lot of changes that need to happen, and it's in the community, it's in the prisons, and it's in the legislature as well.
Yeah. All right. Okay. One question. Okay, couple. How much time do we have? Okay. Actually, I've been told there's no more time.
She tried to. She tried to.
So real quick, so I just want to just say that one of the things that helped me the most was therapy, because in therapy was the place where I first heard the word trauma. I never knew that I lived a life of trauma until my therapist told me, Inez, that's not the way you're supposed to be, you know. That's where I learned that I suffered from PTSD, because I always had these dreams and these fears of people coming in and rushing my house or coming to get me, and I didn't realize that it was because I was 9 years old and the cops were always raiding my house looking for my mom and dad. So I had always grew up with these fears. I had all these fears. I didn't know it was PTSD. So for me, therapy was a very helpful point in my life, because without it, I don't think I'd even know that I had these things that I'd be able to work on today, you know. And today I'm a lead substance abuse counselor at Homeboy Industries, and I think it's important that when everybody does come home, that there's organizations that they come home to. They're not just coming out to nothing, you know what I mean? Places that are going to be welcoming with things that can help them, therapy, reentry, you know, job placement, all these good things that we all have out here now. Like, these are the organizations that when we do come home, we have these places to come home to, you know. And I think going back into the prisons, you know, like, it's harder to get out, to even get back in there to help people, you know. Like, I've tried so many times to go back in and speak to the women, and it's like, oh, no, I can't let you in because of your record. And it's like, who better than to go in there and help them and show them that there's hope than us, you know. So there's a lot of things that we got to work on, and, you know, I'm just very honored to be up here, and I'm in awe, you know, after watching these films, and I'm still in awe of Homeboy Industries, a new way of life, and just the people that were in the films, you know, and I just thank you guys for everything that you guys do.
Right. I want to, really quickly, I just want to say that right now, you can go back in after 5 years, and we're trying to change a lot of 3 years. But we've been trying to do that for a number of years, so I don't know how soon that will happen. But, okay, Okay, everyone's hanging around afterwards, right? So you can answer questions. No one's going anywhere. You'll be here all week. All right. All right, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you all so much for sharing your stories, for all of the work that you do to end this terrible system, to end the surveillance, the punishment of communities of color, of low-income communities. We all thank you, and that's why everybody's here today, to make sure that we can all work on this together through law, through art, and through all of the means that we know how. So thank you so much.
So before we all exit this room, I wanted to share with you all very briefly. Tiffany, come on. Wait, is that mic out? Yeah, you all are hanging out. You're all hanging out with me. Now the party's going to start, right? Okay. Very quickly, I just wanted to say a few words. We had a late start this afternoon, and I wasn't able to share with you all my eternal gratitude to this panel. So if you all allow us for just a minute, I wanted to share a little bit more about the inspiration for this festival and this evening. My name is Delaram. And I want to thank you all for joining us this evening at the beautiful Fowler Museum for this incredible program of film screenings, our art gallery that'll be happening very soon, and our dinner and vocal performances. I want to thank you all who've returned from last night's programming and who are staying with us in our attempt to celebrate and create art and continue the process of building community power to fight against the injustices of our criminal legal system. I am especially indebted to tonight's filmmakers and to the genre of film in general, because in many ways it's the reason we are all here together on this beautiful evening. A year ago, the law school received a request from a local filmmaker to screen their film on criminal justice. So I set to work to learn how to run a film festival and how to run a film festival that was intentional and that highlighted voices appropriately and was dedicated to highlighting those voices of currently and formerly incarcerated directors, actors, animators, producers. That eventually led me, with the help of many, many, many people who are here tonight, to create everything that our festival, Connecting Art and Law for Liberation, has become. We hope that this evening and tomorrow you'll join us in shining a light on the incredible formerly and currently incarcerated artists and activists that have given so much of themselves to join the fight to end mass incarceration. I wanted at this time welcome Laura Jones to the stage. The film screenings are over, but thankfully our panelists are going to be with us this evening and sharing with us the rest of the programming, which will start off with an art gallery. Laura will share more about that project. Thank you, Laura.
I know you guys have been here for a long time, so I'll make it really quick. So there are two parts of the art gallery, and I'd love for you guys to, because I'm imagining when you go up to the beautiful terrace, you won't come back down. So half of the gallery is right outside the doors. You probably saw it as you came in. Most of the artwork is for sale, and all of the donations will go to Was Incarcerated Productions, and I'm sure you all want to support it after you saw one of the films today. Definitely. And so if you want to purchase the art, I'll be standing next to a table, and you just come up to me, and as soon as it's first come, first serve, and then as soon as you say, I want that one, and you Venmo or write a check, I'll put a sticker, and it's yours. You can take it off the wall. Yeah, so very simple. And then if you can't buy art, I completely understand that. There are booklets right next to the art, and in those booklets have the pictures of the art on the wall, and I'm going to mail those back to the people inside. So I know we can't have a conversation with them here because that's physically, sadly, impossible. But whatever you wish you could say to them, whatever the art means to you, please write it in those booklets, and I'll be mailing those next week. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Laura. Thank you.